Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where experts in the field inform, educate and inspire the community to be healthier, more balanced and live the lifestyle they love. Our first guest today is Jacqui Grant. She's an NDIS business consultant and empowerment coach. Welcome to the show, Jacqui.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Jacqui, what's the secret for NDIS providers to be successful?
One of the big key points to being a success is to understand your scope of practice and to ensure that those services that you want to provide are actually part of a participant's plan. Now, one of the things that happens is that a lot of people decide to be a sole trader in the NDIS business and they think, oh, I'll just get an ABN, I'll get some insurance and that's all I really need. But they don't understand how their services can provide value to participants. Basically, under NDIS, and one of the places to check is the NDIS pricing arrangement on their website, is service providers can be nurses, they could be allied health professionals, support workers. Now that is the biggest one and what most people have in their plan. Psychology, there's even transport, meal prep, and then there's space for respite, short-term accommodation, and then specialised disability accommodation. It's a long list, I understand. And one of the keys for people to have that success for their own business is to know exactly where they fit in with the plan and the value and the importance and that it's reasonable and necessary for the participant. So reasonable and necessary is one of the things that NDIS talk about a lot, and it means that the service that the person has is relevant to their disability and it is necessary. With the scope of practice, one of the things that we currently find, especially with businesses that come to me, is that they don't realise, like, they have a qualification such as a hairdresser, which is great. It's a great skill. But when you want to be a support worker, do you understand what that means and the risks to being a support worker? Because you're providing care and services, so helping someone showering, dressing, shopping. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but when someone has a disability, they are vulnerable, they're open to risk. And if you don't understand how to do a risk assessment, if you don't understand some of the things that are required for that person or even their disability, for example, they may have an acquired brain injury. Now, you need to understand behaviour and how temperament, they might be aggressive, they might withdraw. So understanding those disabilities is really important. And if you don't have that lived experience, then working as a support worker can, in some cases, cause harm rather than what we want, which is empowerment and support and encouraging choice and control for the person, quality of life.
Why is business compliance so important?
Well, in Australia, owning a business, whether it's a company, partnership, there's consumer law, there's ATO requirements and insurance requirements, and NDIS have their set of requirements as well. Now, with that, when you have your paperwork, so your compliance is documents, policies and procedures, and you not only have them, but you use them, you are able to ensure that if there is ever an incident, and let's face it, incidents happen, we're dealing with people, you know exactly what to do, who to go to. Some incidents are reportable to NDIS. So if you don't have your business compliance in place, your business plan, financial plan, you could find yourself at high risk of major problems, and nobody wants that. Now, just to go a little deeper into that, with NDIS, you can either be a NDIS registered service provider, so that means you put an application into NDIS, you have an audit, and you have to understand national practice standards, NDIS practice standards, and then you wait for your registration after your audit, and you will be audited regularly. It's part of NDIS compliance. However, the way NDIS is, you don't need to be a registered NDIS provider, and that means that you don't have to put in the application and you don't have to be audited. But people sort of think, well, if I'm just a sole trader, I'm not NDIS registered, I don't need documents, policies and procedures. Well, technically, best practice would indicate you do, because you should be doing care plans. You should be looking at how you can support your participant with their goals. And that's what a care plan does. It understands the person's needs and how to help them achieve them to be the best they can.
What are some of the tips and advice you'd offer to businesses to increase participation and engagement?
So one of the biggest things I see everywhere, and one of the biggest questions people ask me, so social media, I met a lady in the cafe the other day and she's like, oh, I want to grow my NDIS business, how do I do it? And so one of the first things I asked her was about her social media. What presence do you have? Do you have a website? How do you know that you are the right person for the people reading your Facebook post? Like, what is your message and how clear is it? So having a really good business plan that incorporates a marketing plan can help. A website that is really clear and it makes it easy for people to go, oh, that's the service I want. And it builds trust. And of course, understanding your potential participants' hobbies, interests. What do they want to do? What do they want to get out of their plan? What's important to them? So understanding what that looks like a day in their life and how you can best help them achieve that. The other thing is, as a business, network. Get to know other businesses in your area or even nationally, and attend things like networking events, to attend education sessions where you've got those common grounds of, like, you might all be learning about epilepsy or acquired brain injuries or anything, autism, things like that, where you are likely to meet either other service providers and or people that have somebody in their life that has a disability, or it could be the person themselves. So really branching out and getting to know a lot of different people. And finally, word of mouth, reputation. Like when somebody says, Mary was great. She showed up on time. She was reliable and she listened to me. Sometimes that is the best way to get additional business and grow.
Thank you, Jacqui, for such important information. If you'd like to know more about Jacqui Grant and what NDIS service providers can do to be successful, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we'll have another interesting guest with another interesting topic.
After the break, Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author Pauline Rooney is talking about back pain and yoga. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now we have Pauline Rooney back with us, our Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author. And the topic today we're covering in this series is back pain. Welcome, Pauline.
Thanks.
And so what type of back pain are we talking about today?
We're talking, Linda, mainly about the general back pain, the lower back, neck and shoulders, sitting too long, standing incorrectly, all of those types of things. We're certainly not talking about surgery type back pain. We're talking the general aches and pains in the back.
So you said standing incorrectly. So people think about we're sitting incorrectly, but what do you mean? What does standing incorrect?
We need to be standing upright, the ball and the heel of the foot being in contact, no dropping of the hip, no folding of the arms, because that all pushes us out of alignment. The other thing is we tend to walk with our phone on our shoulder up, that type of thing, and that can certainly give us a great deal of neck and back pain, carrying through the whole body really.
Well, that's interesting. And how can yoga then help with back pain?
Oh, yoga is a dream come true if you have a back pain. The posture of yoga is designed to lengthen, strengthen and recharge the mind and the body. Sometimes, Linda, our mind overthinks and we're not doing things quite correctly. So if I were to sit back or something like that, even sit like that, that would cause a discomfort in our back. Yoga teaches us then to be very strong in our abdominals, in the shoulders back and down, all those types of things that really assist in keeping the structure strong. And I often think if we could learn to work with our skeletal body, everything else would fall into alignment. And with the postures, they really are designed to strengthen and lengthen. However, we hear so much about many types of yoga, and that is fantastic. With back pain and all those sorts of things, it's like anything else, Linda. You need to choose the person and the studio and the style of yoga that's going to work for you. Everybody's different, so find the person that you click with, and you'll find that they will integrate posture, meditation, mind focus and breathing, because we need all of these things to come together to create the well-being in us mentally, physically, and we'll say spiritually. So it's a great help.
And how would you say then yoga is different to other ways of helping back pain?
Yoga is unique because we cover the whole body. If I'm looking at somebody and I see a dropped hip, I'm more inclined to look at where they're going on in the shoulders, so that we can align and straighten that up so that it will move the hip, and then we strengthen through the posture that area of the body so that everything is strengthened to come back into alignment. So it's very unique, and the mind, I believe, plays equal, if you like, importance as the posture. And it oxygenates, it gives a blood flow, it does all those types of things that sends energy through our bodies, and it's like a great flush of energy rushing through. And put that with the posture, you have a dynamic outcome. But you need to work at it too. You need to do your jobs as well. With the yoga, Linda, there's many different things. Standing, we learn to stand correctly. And of course we have our lovely balancing poses. And if you're out of alignment in those, you're going to know about it because you're not balancing. So the balancing poses, they help to lift us and make sure that our alignment is there. We have the seated poses, we have the triangle poses. So they really do lengthen and strengthen. I keep saying that, but that's so important. And for a lot of people, they don't realise how strong a yogi can actually be. And once your muscles are strong, they support the skeletal body area, and therefore, if that is in alignment, then the muscles are more comfortable sitting around it, so to speak. And that's a great thing. There's simple things of drawing your knees up toward your chest, even sitting in a chair or on the floor. It's amazing the number of postures that we do. People will often say, I can't do a back bend, but in essence, that's what they need to be doing. But under the guise of a very, good and well-trained yoga studio, because when we do a back bend, we're actually lengthening the sternum, lifting up and lengthening through. So we're actually stretching the back, not compressing it. And that's a great thing to be very aware of. You do not compress the lower back or hug the shoulders up and put compression into your neck, things like that. So again, another thing that we often see are people that stiff neck, they'll roll their head around and around. We think of that as a 1/16 of your body weight on the smallest vertebra, or one of the smallest vertebrae. So we talk about doing it in the 4 quadrants, So you go back, you go forward, and you go to the sides, so that you're not putting all that pressure onto the vertebra.
And Pauline, what would be, with back pain, the best advice that our viewers could take away today?
There's many things, Linda, that can really help. Some of the best is to simply work with your mind and your breath. We're always saying that in the yoga. But gentle moves of, say, coming forward and just stretching, not arching, but stretching, that'll help to lengthen. Working with your tummy muscles to strengthen the muscles so you sit upright, standing up nice and straight. When you bend from the knees, breathe in to lift, breathe out to put down, because that makes everything lighter. When you're turning, don't sort of half bend and turn. Make sure that you turn your feet to pick something up or to move. Don't swing on a straight spine. Those types of things really do help. And with your shoulders, you can do just a very gentle shoulder roll. We keep our elbows in and just work through the shoulders like that. They will all help. And of course, you go backwards. Your breath, your body movement, and your mindset, Linda, they're the 3 golden rules. It's amazing how such simple things can actually assist in the gentler, I'll say, back problems, not serious back problems, but the everyday back problem. So that'd be my advice to our viewers today.
Oh, lovely, Pauline. Thank you so much. And now we'll go to break. If there's any more information you'd like on Pauline Rooney and Yoga for Wellbeing, but specifically back pain, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we'll be back after the break with another wonderful speaker.
Stay tuned. After the break, health, life and love coach Heather Belle Murphy is talking about the secrets of long-lasting love.
Welcome back. Today we have Heather Belle Murphy on the show, a health, life and love coach, and our topic is the secrets of long-lasting love. Welcome to the show, Heather, and tell us, how many secrets are there?
There's actually quite a few, Kirsty, which I'm sure you can appreciate. If I can offer some great advice, as a bit of a mentor and being pretty seasoned in love myself, love is a skill like anything, and I think there's been a cultural perception, or some of us who may have been raised with a religious overtone, and certainly I had an early Christian upbringing, that love just, it's just this thing that comes naturally. So I've certainly grown up through relationships, and I've gotten better at it, and there are obviously some skills which are really important to create a sustainable, loving life. And then, a long-lasting, juicy, vital, fun, passionate, romantic relationship. Number 1 is definitely to fall in love with yourself first, and to know your strengths and identify your weaknesses. Now, if you know that you've got a really flaky, bad habit, for example, being bad with money, that's probably something which you prefer to address sooner rather than later, because that's one of those things that can make sustainable love tricky. A great saying is, when financial hardship comes through the front door, love tends to fly out the window. So that's one thing. It's like being aware of what your strengths and weaknesses are, and if you can, address those weaknesses, or it's something that can be shared with a partner, because maybe you don't carry the financial reins in the relationship. Perhaps, that's a job for the partner. It's something that a particular person is poor in. Another thing is, so along with that self-love, is identify your partner's strengths and weaknesses. This is a really common, actually it's almost like we're entering the time with all the online dating, and the Tinder love. It's almost like entering the menu log love stage, where relationships are starting and finishing, within a few hours. So there is definitely learning dating skills for women in particular, and this was a big mistake, was that I didn't give myself permission to identify who I really wanted to be with. I tended to let the other person just choose me and then go along with it. And so I would end up in relationships where I was obviously with the wrong person. And then being young and naive and lacking skill in that area, and thinking that love was unconditional, which is a really big thing for women, I would be trying to make a bad match work, and then thinking you know, I need to just work harder at it, work harder at it. It was actually just that I was with the wrong person all along, because it was all a hormone driven, you know, that friction of, you know, passion and physicality. But really, the long-term juice just wasn't there, and it was actually never there to start with. So there is a thing about giving yourself permission to choose, knowing what your strengths are, knowing what you like.
Heather, does unconditional love exist?
I would answer probably no, especially when it comes to intimate, sustainable, you know, long-term love, because this comes down to house training, you know, which is about doing our part in the relationship. You're probably not looking at a long-term love picture if somebody thinks that it's okay to just, you know, sit on the couch and eat chocolate. You know, it's probably not part of a sustainable long love picture. So definitely the role where, you know, and it's part of a healthy love life plan for, you know, whatever an end result looks like in a relationship. So people are going to play their parts.
And what tips do you have for our audience?
Definitely, I would say have a love plan together, you know, and make time for each other. So, you know, I find it quite a common thing that when people have been in a relationship for a few years, they can get into the pattern of taking each other for granted, which may look like there's never date night. You know, there's never date night for intimacy. It's not planned. There is also that plan of that end result about who you want to be in the relationship, and then how your relationship is going to look like. I love receiving flowers. I think it's an incredibly sensual and sexy act. And so, you know, he gives me roses on a regular basis. Bit of a surprise in there, which is really nice. So it's never like it's a spontaneous Tuesday every week because he set a calendar to it or something. You know, but it's a really lovely surprise. However, I've got friends. Now that was part of my juicy fantasy little movie that I played out in here before we met, that now projects out here. I've got friends who don't like holding hands, don't like getting flowers. You know, they think, what's the point of receiving something that's going to be dead in a week? So that's not part of their plan, which is fine. So they've got a different plan. So of course, it all depends on choosing what we like to start with, and then being capable of receiving it. Now, women receiving is a massive, massive secret, and also gift to a man. I've got friends, and I've got those kinds of Facebook friends where they'll be posting, you know, when a man loves a woman, he'll give her this, and you hold her and do this, and then they can't receive a cup of coffee, or they can't receive the offer of a ride home. So receiving for women, which goes into our self-love, being the fountain of love, not the well of sacrifice, it's a huge thing. My partner knows when he gives me things that I really love receiving them, and also that I'm going to honour him in having given to me. That's a big thing as well.
Thank you so much, Heather. They were some lovely and insightful tips. And if you want more information on Heather Belle Murphy and the secrets to long-lasting love, go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. That is the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.